Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Nuance. Same, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So there is this discourse where Black person was telling, saying that Asians, Asians are usually rated like they are anti-black, and that the anti-blackness is really way out of hand, right? And an Asian woman picked on that, and she was saying that that is absolutely true, but it is not all of them, which I also believe. No matter how you come to a group of people, there must be good ones, there will also be bad ones. But one thing I am not going to do is to make excuse for people's stupidity, because when people tells you who they are, you don't have to argue and all that. Whatever they feel about you or how they feel about you eventually will show, and when it shows, do not defend it, right? And like both another one also talked about anti-blackness when it comes to anime and all that. And also she expanded it to she talked about military and how white people, how they learned so many things from white people, and also decided to incorporate it in their culture, like some of them wearing black faces and all that. And talked about how in if a Japanese person serviced a black person, and a white person would not want to be serviced by a Japanese person. Why? Because they already serviced a black person. I mean, all these, and also she talked about how her mother talked about segregations and all that happened. You know what? Let's get into this video.
I want to treat this comment with kindness and have a healthy, productive conversation around it. There are good non-racist East Asian women, just like there are bad racist East Asian women. So it's not about like absolutes or like, oh, the majority of us. Like, there are good people and bad people in every group. Okay? But for those of us that are racist, that are anti-black, anti any other minority, I guarantee you it comes from internalized colorism that we face within our own community. For example, this is my grandfather. That's how Korean men looked 2 generations ago. You don't really see that anymore, especially like in our homeland. I don't want to dissect it too much. Like me, I just wear like SPF 80 because I just don't want to age. But like my brother is a darker Asian. Yes, like he's Korean. But like we don't care. We're Americanized. Korea as a society has a lot of catching up to do, especially with stuff like that. And, like feminism, you know, gay rights and stuff like that. I just want to say, I want to acknowledge that it exists, but it's not all of us, okay? Just like in every group. There are so many of us that have been victimized by our own society, and oftentimes, especially when we immigrate to different countries like the United States, it really opens our eyes. And for the most part, we're all really good people. There are good East Asian people. For the most part, we're all really good people.
If you haven't seen that video already, then I invite you to go check it out. But basically, she talks about the anti-blackness, the colorism, and the culture differences within the Asian community. But she also goes on to say there is a lot of racism in the Asian community in general. But there are a lot of Asians who aren't racist, but there are some who are not racist, which I can totally understand. She also goes on to say that regardless of the community or race, there is going to be racism, which is true. There is a lot of racism in the black community towards Asian people. And from my experience, from what I have seen, from what I have heard, the reasoning of that is because they have experienced or seen a lot of racism from the Asian community to the black community. I've also come to the realization that a lot of black people experiences is not something that they dealt with in real life, but what they see on the internet or what the media and the internet portrays to them. Please understand me, because what I am saying is incredibly important. Whether you are black or Asian, or both, I invite you to read this book, Biting the Hand, Growing Up Asian in Black and White America by Julia Lee. To dumb it down as much as I can, that book is about white imperialism, whiteness, colorism, anti-blackness, and the model minority myth, because that's what it is, a myth. And it goes into depth of how white America created a system to pin black and Asian people against each other. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to Asian American communities, there is quite a lot of anti-blackness within their community. But that's not the craziest thing. What's even crazier is that there are a lot of colorism within inside of their community as well. What a lot of black people do not understand is that they think that a lot of Asians in general are just racist, but they don't consider the Southeast Asians. I've been around Asian people all my fucking life, and I can tell that they don't all like each other either. A lot of them don't like each other based off ethnicities, nationalities, and even skin tone. And as someone who has been around Asian people all my life, yes, I can easily tell you that there are racist people within the Asian community. There's quite a handful of them, actually. However, and this is incredibly important, most Asians I have interacted with, most Asian people that I have been friends with, had a conversation with, etc., they are not racist. That is one of the most incredible things about breaking down the barrier, is because all you have to do is strike a conversation and you can easily tell right off the bat. Please take the first step. Instead of just making assumptions that they're fucking racist, chances are they probably like you too. They probably like, oh my god, I want to talk to this person, but maybe he thinks I'm racist. Maybe they don't like me, or maybe they already think I don't like them. In America has almost created the most impenetrable wall ever between the black and Asian community, because they have made us internally scared, nervous, hesitant, or even conjure up assumptions about the other community without even saying a word about it. People still haven't realized that America's greatest tool is taking away that communication. But then again, like I said, that's not always the case. I live in Colorado, and unfortunately, there are a large handful of Asian people who are self-hating. Because they are not white, their features, their culture, their language, etc., their naming, the list goes on. All they hang around is white people. But I found a trick. If I want to make Asian friends, then I just simply find those individuals who only has Asian friends. Reason being is because they're not fucking lost in the sauce like the other Asian people who are just desperate for white approval or white attention. Doing your research and finding activities is exactly where you want to start. A few years ago, I went to this concert. He was an Asian DJ guy, and I had no idea who he was, but I went there because, fuck it, why not? Little do I know, this guy was very popular amongst the Asian community. Everybody in that bitch was Asian. Everybody. But to my surprise, a lot of Asian people were trying to talk to me. Usually they don't come up to you to strike a conversation, but it was because of the location that I was at that encouraged them to talk to me. Because they took it as of, oh, well, if he's here to listen to him, then maybe he's cool with us. I made a lot of Asian friends that day, and I was very happy about it. But then it got me thinking, all it takes is for Asian people to do the same thing. Go to those places, go to those concerts, those festivals, those areas of where black people like to go to, and watch it roll. Watch it roll. I've seen it happen a few times, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever witnessed. The main point that I'm trying to make here is purposely involving yourself with one another is exactly how we're going to destroy this fucking white imperialism. It's how we can break down a barrier and get closer to one another. Because believe it or not, all you have to do is just involve yourself. Open your mouth. That is it. Every time that I have seen a cool person who is an Asian person, and I'm like, I want to go talk to that person, it never fucking failed. Like I said, it don't always work. But it's definitely more than possible. She is directing the racism, the anti-blackness in the Asian community, and from my standpoint, I am going to direct the anti-Asianness within the black community as well.
I think anybody who's willing to be honest with themselves and has spent significant time in any anime space, either online or in person, I think they can verify that the anime community can be pretty racist. And that's not just coming from like black cosplayers getting comments like, oh, this character isn't black. But even within the representations of black or darker skinned people in anime, for example, this, whatever the fuck this is, this, the list goes on. That's not to say there's no good depictions of black people in anime. This little grid was online with some depictions of darker skinned anime characters that were done well. But unfortunately, the majority of them are still pretty bad. And a lot of people do ask why this is, and the general answer that people go for is that Japan is not that diverse. There's not many black people in Japan, and these mangakas just don't bother to do any research on how to draw black people. But I think that's the easy answer, and there's some historical nuance to this. I mean, sure, they might not see any black people, but it's not like they just drew an anime character and just made the skin dark and didn't think about, oh, hair texture and features. No, these oftentimes include a lot of tropes that come straight out of, I don't know, antebellum period America. I mean, just look at the fact that there's this mascot that is straight up pickaninny style, and it is Japanese. So I think part of the reason you see that kind of like the outline with the lips and like the no eyebrows, that kind of thing, comes from the way that Japan was exposed to black people. And it did not start with World War II. Um, Japan had ongoing trade with Portugal for a great period of time before they would trade with any other Westerners. And I actually learned that today when I Googled it. Pickaninny comes from likely a butchering of the Portuguese word for Pinquite, I think it was just like small, little, whatever. And so the importation of those style of products to Japan did occur, and especially occurred in the mid to late 1800s when Commodore Matthew Perry from America broke down Japan and was like, hey, I demand trade. Also, side note, this is how they depicted him. I just think it's kind of funny. But yeah, so unfortunately, in the 1800s, minstrel shows were still pretty popular, and they were something that did happen on ships with sailors and other like performers who traveled around to entertain soldiers. This is actually a Japanese depiction of one of those um, minstrel groups, and if you look closer, you can see that they are white people in blackface. So obviously, we've established that this kind of racist imagery has been exported to Japan for quite some time. And on top of that, there were certain Western intellectual ideas that Japan embraced during the Meiji Restoration era. They were trying to modernize, and then they thought modernization meant Westernization. So they took a lot of Western ideas and technologies and applied them to their own context. One of those was social Darwinism. They did a little special take on it where they had Japan at the top, and but it was still this idea of race. And obviously, race is something that is man made. And, like, just look at the way Japan treated other Asians. They didn't think, oh, Asians, we're all Asian, Asian unity. They're like, Japan special, we're at the top. But with social Darwinism, it obviously comes the idea that white men are up here and black men are down here. And so America has been pretty, I don't know if I'd say, I don't want to say responsible because that sounds like I'm excusing Japan on this, but they have encouraged the spread of racial hierarchies that, you know, even if Japan takes it and says, oh, if white men are at the top and black men are at the bottom, Japanese men are above white men, it's still, exporting that idea. And you can really see that in the wake of World War II. So after Japanese surrendered, um, there were a lot of like comfort women, prostitutes, just people who were either destitute and just had to do whatever they could to get by. And the Japanese government at the time, whatever group that they formed after the emperor surrendered, they formed this commission for the Western recreation of um, American soldiers, and they were scared that these American soldiers would come and assault the pure Japanese women, and so they had a group of women that they already viewed as tainted, who were either comfort women, prostitutes, or poor women, and they would designate them to be the sexual service for American soldiers. But even within that, there was a racial divide. If a Japanese woman serviced a black man, she was then no longer allowed to service a white man. That's how the American military wanted it. They did not like that racial mixing. And that's also kind of why I hate when people say, oh, it's not all about race. Why do black people try to find a problem in everything? Like, it is about race. I mean, my mom can remember when desegregation happened in schools. Like, the prevalence and just the deep rootedness of anti-blackness and the way it has been exported all around the world is very real and very harmful. And trying to pretend that that's not the reality that we live in, that's just burying your head in the sand. And so this is just kind of going to try to give some depth to the questions about like why there are this type of visual trope and racist depictions in Japanese media. And I think that this kind of framework can be applied to a lot of different Asian countries who, frankly, are oftentimes don't deal with very many citizens that are not of their specific ethnic group or racially Asian. And so when they do see these outsiders or foreigners or whatever, they're drawing upon what they do know. And a lot of it does come from racist Western depictions of
So
Black
this is
people.
all I got from this video, and I am going to say this. I am not going to make excuses or an excuse for anybody trying to be anti-Black or trying to be racist towards Black people in 2024, because the majority of the people doing it know what they are doing, right? It is not about probably being shy or not being like not having a lot of Black people or not associating with Black people and all that. If you can talk ill about your fellow Asian and you know that you are talking ill about them, and you also open your mouth to talk ill about Black people or any other person, of course, you know what you are doing. So I am not going to say you are naive or you are ignorant of what you are saying. You are not ignorant. That is absolutely what you have chosen to do, because majority of the people that come out online to be that ignorant, that stupid, absolutely know what they are doing, and majority of them are learned, right? And I always say, if you are learned or like your left, okay, not even being learned, that is not it. If you know your left, let me say, if you know your left from your right, of course you can read, you see what is going on all over the internet, you understand Black struggle or Black struggles, but yet you just want to be out there and show your true self. I mean, I do not, when people show me who they are, I do not argue anymore, because before I look for a way to make excuse, or maybe this person doesn't know what he or she is doing and all that. But it has dawned on me that they absolutely know what they are doing, but and that is the part they already choose. You can hear what she said. The last woman said when she was talking about also the anti-blackness when it comes to anime and all that. Then she talked about the military and how back then, like, if you as a Japanese service a Black person or something like that, you are not also like probably allowed to like service a white person. So it did not start there. Some of them also inherited it from their parents. I mean, it's like it's hereditary. I don't know if racism is hereditary, but some people act like it is because it runs all over their family. And what is it that runs all over people's families? Something that is hereditary, right? Pardon me on that, but that is just how I feel about it, and I am speaking my mind, right? So some of them already have decided that this is the path they want. Some are also like, they use them as sponsor, or already like in some Asians also feel like proximity to whiteness already made them white, and you see them act like, like they are superior and all that. So I am no longer making excuse for anybody or trying to say that I know majority, I mean, the same that there are bad eggs, the same way that there are good eggs. But I am not making excuse or trying to defend anybody for being silly towards people that look like me and think like they can come out on the internet to pew their racist rhetoric all over. And like the other last one said that her mother experienced segregation, Black segregation, schools, fountains, and all that. And yeah, all these things. Now, one thing I have also noticed is that all these things are still happening, but in a low-key way. Why did I say in a low-key way? Because tell me how I am supposed to not go out at a certain places at night, and why I am probably in a hotel and they are asking me that, I mean, like somebody will walk up to you to tell you that I'll ask you, what are you doing here? Or ask you, are you sure you are at the right place? Or are you at the right, are you not trying to like, pull the segregation button, right? And you all remember what happened to the young man that lived in Florida, his estate, or where he lived, right? That he was just like, having a walk, and they pull up on him asking him, "Do you live here?" So it means the segregation of a thing is just low-key, or it evolved just to something else. Because ask me how somebody would just like where I live, the estate, probably seeing a Russian, because where I live there are so many Russians there, right? Or like probably I haven't seen it, just coming out to ask a Russian, or coming out to ask Ukrainian, "Do you live here?" Like, or something like that. Man, I am being mean, and do not ever defend something like that. So whatever they choose to do, or how they choose to react or treat Black people, that is absolutely who they are. Like I am saying, I am not saying everybody, but whoever that comes out to show us his or her color, that is that person, that is this real person's attitude. And I am not defending anybody. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.